Hi friends, it's Lauren Taylor. Thanks for joining me in my craft room today. I'm going to be doing kind of a recap of the 24 days of the Spellbinders Advent Calendar. Now, I did create shorts for YouTube as well as on TikTok of the different days and how I put each of the supplies together. I didn't have the capacity to do full on projects for every day. There was a lot on my plate, but I still wanted to open them up and put something together. So, this is just going to be kind of a recap. I have everything in one speed. Nothing is sped up in this part, but it is edited out for time. So for day number one, it was this really cute car and gift, and I die cut a few of them. I was a little ambitious on day one. I thought, oh, I could definitely make 3 cars and put them on cute little tags, and it's going to be so fun. And while I hope to still put these cards on a tag someday, here's just how I assembled my little car. So I have a blue one, and then I made 2 Christmassy ones, um, red and green, and pink and teal. And that was my day one. Now, for day number two, it was a stamp set. And again, I was very ambitious. I was like, I can do some watercoloring and some alcohol marker coloring. And these are going to make adorable cards. And while I do have these images ready to go to make adorable cards, I have not yet made those adorable cards, but I really love the floral image and I love that scripty like font for the sending good thoughts. And so I decided to stamp it with some black alcohol marker friendly ink. And then I also embossed it on watercolor cardstock in gold. And for the alcohol marker, I am using my Oh Hoo Hoo Art alcohol markers. I use Honolulu B. They are my preferred marker. I do have some Honolulu A's, but I like the B's more because they have a brush and a nib tip. And I'm just coloring them in. I didn't really have any rhyme or reason to the colors I was picking. I just wanted to color for funsies. So I picked colors that I thought just worked really well together, like this kind of more lime green and a yellow and more of a like rosy pink color and a rosy red color or rosy purple, I guess. And then I did a similar look for the watercolor, but this time I'm using my Distress Watercolor pencils. These are Ranger and Tim Holtz. And I did my leaves green and again went more for that lime green look, but then a bit softer on the colors. So it took me a while to get that tattered rose to color in the rose. And then bringing in the yellow this time for the 4 petaled flowers, and then I went to more pinkishy violet for the flower on the side. Definitely a lot softer. But I did fussy cut my flowers and my sentiments out, and I think they'll make a pretty little card or 2 cards once I actually put these on cards, which I hope I actually do. Day number 3 was this cool kind of border die, and it came with 2 pieces. So it kind of looks like a bunch of basketballs at first, all lined up in a row. And then you could also make it a like edge die. So I thought I would create a panel with this die. So I'm going to start with die cutting the edge off so it has this pretty like scalloped look. And then I'm going to cut a bunch of these basketballs. They're not basketballs, but they look like basketballs all lined up. And I die cut quite a few, and then I just glued them onto this panel that I die cut with a scallop on the end, lining up the curves of the circles to the curves of that scallop border. And then I just glued a bunch onto this panel so that way it would just create a pretty background. I thought this would look really cute on a card to add my flowers onto, like those deep pink flowers that I made, colored with my alcohol markers. So I went ahead and just filled up this whole panel with those circle dies, And it created a really pretty textured look. It kind of looks like it's embossed. And here you can see how a card would look with that background and the flowers and sentiment. Now jumping into day number 4, I accidentally opened up day number 5 instead of day number 4. So I was trying really hard to not show you day number 5, but you know what? It's okay. It happens to all of us. And day number 4 was a to and from basically die set. So we have to and from, and then also you and me. So I just cut these out of different colors. I thought I could match them with the cute little cars to make tags. I think that's probably what I'm going to do for the cars. I will make some tags. So I die cut the different sentiments and the shadow dies out of colors that were the same cardstock that I used to cut out those cute little cars from day 1. And I'm just using my liquid glue with a fine point tip to add adhesive on the back of my scripty word and then gluing them onto the shadow pieces. So it was pretty easy. There were no tittles of the eyes or anything like that. So gluing them together was pretty quick and easy. And I went ahead and did that for all 3 sets of color schemes. But I definitely like the from me to you sentiment. And I think it will look really cute on a card tag. So I will hopefully make those for next year. And then day number 5 was a little mini embossing folder, and it created these textured dots, like little polka dots. So this is actually a really thin embossing folder. I wasn't really sure what I was going to use it for, but I decided to prep those tags that I hope to make one day. And I am just going to run the white tag that I die cut out through my Spellbinders machine so I can emboss some little polka dots onto these tags. And I think they look really cool. They look like they're, half embossed. And adding those cars and the to you from me sentiment, I think will look really nice, and they'll be really cute tags for next Christmas. So yeah, those will be in my stash for next year. Now, jumping into day number 6, which was another little die set. I can't believe how many tiny little die sets that they fit into this advent calendar. And it's this adorable little turtle and a balloon with a party hat. I just thought this was so cute. I die cut my turtles to have a few on hand, and I hope to put them on a cute birthday card. A lot of I hope to finish projects right now, but they're sitting in a bag waiting to be used. But it will be nice if I need to make a quick card. I will have some images ready to go. So there is an upside to having a few turtles already die cut, ready to go. And I die cut my turtles out of different shades of green and brown. And I always struggle to have cards for mostly my nephews in life. I make kind of, I would guess, stereotypical girly cards, which I don't like saying. I don't like calling something boyish or girlish, but definitely more on the shiny, glittery side and not so much on the not quite as shiny, glittery side. So I'm making these little turtles in mind for some of my nephews who would appreciate a more cool tone card than a floral card, if that makes sense. So I really think these little turtles turned out really cute. I did add a piece of white paper behind the eye. I just felt like it looked kind of weird. I wasn't really sure how to connect the eye part to the opening, so I added that white paper to just give the eye a little bit more personality and a cute little yellow balloon. For day number 7, we're getting a stencil, and I use this stencil a lot for the 24 days, mostly to make shakers, but I just really like this cool mod print for the stencil. And it's this tiny little, I think 3.5 by 3.5 inch stencil, and there's 3 different layers, and they just make a really cool background. I love the pattern. I was thinking of what pieces of this kit that I could see myself using long term. I might, see if my mom wants some of these dies, but I really like this little stencil set, and I use it a lot, and I think I might keep this stencil set for some time, just because it was so easy to use and it just creates a nice little background. And I think it's really easy to make a repeating background if you want to use this, more than once on a panel. So I thought I would make something that would match my turtle. So I'm using the first layer with yellow ink, the second layer with green ink, and the third layer with blue ink. Now I will say there are 4 little dots in the corners, so to help you, line up the stencils. But they're not easy to cut off unless you round the corners. So I would say, cover those up if you don't want to have to cut your panel down and round the corners. Day number 8 is one of my favorites. It's this cute little mushroom die set. I know there's been a few mushroom releases from different companies right now, and I love them. I love all of them, and I am collecting all of them. So I really love the 2 different mushrooms that you get and the little pieces of grass. At first, I didn't know they were grass. I thought maybe they were accents to the mushrooms, which you can totally do. I've seen some other creators add them as details on the mushroom itself rather than grass. So, obviously it's your die set, so put it together to your heart's content. But to give my mushrooms a little bit more of a rustic look, I added some gray to the white pieces that I die cut and some red ink to the red pieces that I die cut. And then I was going to darken up all of those brown, like craft pieces of my mushroom, but I realized that those are grass. And so I'm going to die cut those out of green real quick, and then add them as little grass pieces to the bottoms of my mushroom. So I'm putting in the details. I've got the red layered on top of the white cardstock, and then I added this craft color to be the inside of the mushroom. And then the bottom of the mushroom, I have that same white but with the gray ink color. And then pretty much the same process for the smaller mushroom. There's no craft detail for this one, but I do glue the stem of the mushroom to the underside of this one. And here I am adding a little bit of green ink to distress the grass so it matches the vibe of the rest of my mushrooms. And then I'm gluing those to the bottom of the stems of the mushrooms. And isn't that just so cute? I love it. I think it's going to make a really cute detail on a card. I probably will cut a few more of them to be able to fit on a project again one day. For day number 9, I got some sequins, and now there's a couple days here with sequins. So these are very they have like an iridescent shine to them, so they are kind of a hot pink color, but there is a kind of orangey vibe to them. You can see here when they're spread out, you can really see that they're like a poppy red, orange, pink color, and then depending on the light you can see that hot pink like right there. That's an excellent view of how pink the sequins are. So I thought, let's make little shaker panels with the sequins. So I'm going to use my stencil set again, and I'm going to pick colors that I think look like the different shades of those sequins. So I'm using a purple, a pink, and then I even bring in a yellow. I just thought it would really pop with the orange that are within those sequins. And as you can see, I trimmed down this background and I'm using the corner rounder to get rid of those little dots. And then I'm going to make a little panels shaker. So I know you've seen this on my channel a lot. I love making shaker cards, especially a panel shaker card or an infinity shaker card. So I'm creating my little pocket by gluing 3 sides of this piece of acetate around the back of my panel, and then I poured in some sequins, and then I'll go ahead and glue my panel shut. So I didn't put in too many because I didn't want to use all the sequins, but I also really wanted my background to come through. So this is just a really bright, funky color combination, but it makes a really cute little shaker panel. For day 10, it's hard to believe here we are already at day 10 in this video, was I think my other favorite die set from the advent calendar, and it's these really pretty florals. I was inspired by the colors that I've been using so far for the florals, so like pinks and yellows, and of course green for the leaves. So I'm going to go ahead and do all my die cutting, and then I'm going to add in the same colors that I used for my stenciled background for the shaker to add some color to these die cuts. So for the first layer of pink, I used the same colored cardstock for both layers of the flower, but I wanted one of them to be darker, so I added the ink to the bigger flower layer, and then I added some yellow ink to the yellow center just to darken the edges up a bit. So then I'm layering the flower together, and I just love this like pink and yellow combination. I think it's so pretty. And there are like little, I guess, buds you could say. I'm not really sure. I'm not a gardener. I don't know a lot about flowers, but I'm just mixing up the yellow and the pinks to add on to these little kind of like buds of the flower details. And then I'm just showing as an example how I could create a layout with this shaker. As you can see, I did my best to line up the colors, and I think this would make a really cute little card, these florals on top of my shaker panel. And I really love these dies. I think they look so cool. Again, my favorite next to the mushrooms. For day number 11, I got a sentiment die set. So this day is actually not too long of a video. I'm just going to show you how you can layer your sentiments together, because this die cut has the actual banner die, and then there's 4 sentiments that do kind of like an embossed cutting. I don't know if that makes sense. It die cuts a word out, but it adds like texture to it. So I like to use these kinds of dies with my magic mat from scrapbook.com because it embosses really well when it die cuts. So I die cut all of the banners out of like a craft brown cardstock and a shimmery gold, like champagne gold cardstock. And for the champagne, I just did the banner. I didn't do any sentiment. So I'm layering them together so you can read the sentiment through the craft cardstock, and it has this like nice shimmery gold look to it. I think it's a little hard to read, but I like the subtlety of it. It feels like it's more embossed than die cut. So we have Make a Wish, a gift for you, just a note, and you did it. For day number 12, we have another die set, lots of little die sets. Like I said, it was crazy how many die sets come in this advent calendar and like how detailed they are. And this one is really cute. It's a strawberry one. I do have some strawberry dies, so I wouldn't say it's my favorite in the set just because I have a lot of fruit already in my stash, and it's not quite like the mushrooms for me where I want to collect them all. But they are still really cute, and I think they're going to be fun for like summer cards when you do like berry things. So I die cut my images out of some colored cardstock, and then I'm going to use my Oh Hoo Hoo art markers just to add in some shadow and some detailing. I like to do this when I have really detailed images that I've die cut and I don't really want to go in with a like ink blending brush to add detail. I just think it's easier to add shadows and details with markers instead. And you don't have to use alcohol markers for this. You could use colored pencils. You could use water or like dye based markers. So however, you want to add some details, and you can just use these dies without any shadowing. I think if I would have die cut the leaves out of different shades of green and layered them together, they would look just as cool. Now, the only thing that I wasn't really like, I guess, happy with these dies is that a lot of them um, cut holes and nothing to back them up. So, like the strawberries, you cut out the seeds, but there's no like solid strawberry to layer together in order to not have holes where the seeds are. So, I did my best to glue the strawberry stems in a way that you wouldn't see the base of the stem behind the strawberry. And I just wanted to glue these strawberries together. So I'm layering them together with the big old leaf and then adding in the smaller leaves as kind of just little decor pieces around the strawberries. And then I'm going to add my little strawberry flowers as just some touches. So this like makes one little image. Obviously you can build and layer these dies however you would like, but I wanted it to be just one little like strawberry image that I think would look really cute on a card or a tag. And that will finish off this day, which was day number 12. No, yes, that was day 12. So now we're halfway there, day 13, and it's another stamp set, a sentiment stamp set with birthday greetings and sentiments. So this one is another kind of quick day. I'm just going to stamp all of them out. You can see it says happy birthday, have an amazing day, I'm glad you were born. I think that one is really cute. And the last one says to someone special, and I thought it would be cool to see if they fit in that same banner die, and they totally do. So I'm going to stamp out all of these sentiments and then die cut them with the banner, which I think is going to be great to have on hand for making birthday cards, like already having some sentiments ready to go. And I'm going to go ahead and emboss these onto white cardstock. So I'm stamping them with an embossing ink, and then I'm going to use gold for the sentiments on white paper. So once I get them completely covered with the embossing powder, I'm going to go ahead and melt it down with my heat gun. And once the sentiments cool down, you can see how cute they are. I love Spellbinders fonts for their sentiments. It's really fun. I'm going to use that banner die to cut all 4 of the sentiments out. So I love that I could just add, happy birthday on its own, but then if I do a fun birthday sentiment die cut, I can add the banner that says, I'm glad you were born. So that's really nice to have on hand. It's a cute little stamp set for birthday cards. Now we're moving into day 14, which is another little mini die set, and this time it's a cute little ice cream cone. Now this is a tiny little ice cream cone. I kind of wish it was a little bigger, but I think you could add, like multiple ice cream cones on a card, and it would be really cute, just like across the card, a bunch of different ice cream flavors. So I'll go ahead and die cut out a strawberry, or I guess cherry ice cream, however, whatever pink ice cream that you like. Maybe you're into bubblegum ice cream, which is weird. I think bubblegum ice cream is so odd. My daughter loves it and it's weird. It's usually blue, I guess. So we're going to go with this is strawberry ice cream. So I die cut the I hope I didn't offend anybody with bubblegum ice cream, but I do think it's such an odd flavor. I added some ink to my cone as well as my pink little ice cream scoop here, and I'm going to layer this pink scoop of ice cream behind my cone. Now I did cover up most of my ink when I did that, but that's okay. And then the cherry, again, it has like a hole on it to be the shine of the cherry, but I didn't want the hole to show. So I'm going to glue the cherry onto the pink ice cream and then add my chocolate layer on top of it. So it looks like my cherry is, sitting on my ice cream, but doesn't have this weird hole sticking out of it. And then it also has the green little stem, and I thought it'd be fun for my chocolate to look like it was, glossy and dripping. So I added some glossy accents to the chocolate. It looks a little kind of have a white-ish glow to it right now, but that's because it needs to dry, and it looks really cool when it's dry. Like that chocolate looks really wet. Day number 15 is another kind of tiny slim embossing folder, and again, it looks like basketballs to me. I don't know if I'm the only one who thought that, but I called this the basketball embossing folder, and it actually matches pretty well with the die set. But I'm just going to trim down a piece of white paper and just emboss it so I can see what the design looks like on paper. So I'll go ahead and run that through my Spellbinders machine, and I cannot get that they look like basketballs out of my head, but there's a pretty design. And I'm just going to add some ink on it. I'm using some distress ink in a orange color, dried marigold. And I'm just going to ink up this background just to see how it would look. And I think it looks pretty. It's a really unique design. I definitely don't have anything like it in my stash. And I think adding the orange definitely made it look more like basketballs. So that's just all I can think about when I see this embossing folder. But, it's a great way to add a little strip of design to your projects. Here you could see, if I could put the strawberries on it, I can layer my flowers on it, or maybe turn it to its side and add my mushrooms. It just will be a nice little kind of like statement background for projects. For the next day, we're moving into day 16. I have a sentiment die set that says hello, and it cuts out each individual letter for hello and then also has a shadow die for, you can have your letters just on their own or die cut a nice little shadow for them to be adhered to. So I wanted to create an ombre effect for my hello sentiment. So I'm grabbing some yellow cardstock and just ink blending some distress ink to the edge. And then I thought I would save myself some gluing time by adding an adhesive sheet to the back side of this piece of yellow cardstock. So I flipped it over, added that adhesive sheet, and then I'm going to run my sentiment through my Spellbinders machine. And then I also die cut out the shadow of the hello in white. So I'm going to go ahead and poke all of these letters out, and I guess one at a time at this point. And then I'm peeling off the release paper for that adhesive sheet that I added to the backside of the yellow cardstock. And I'll go ahead and add the rest of my hello sentiment to that white shadow die cut piece. So here's what this hello looks like. I think it's really cute. I like the font. I like that the E sits on top of the H. Just, a fun little hello sentiment for projects. For the next day, there is this kind of like layering tag arch looking design. It's really a small little layering set, and I think it'll make cool little tag and details for cards. I didn't really know what to do with this day. I think I was feeling kind of uninspired. Sounds terrible, but we all have days where things don't turn out exactly how you picture them. But I wanted to make something to put with my strawberries, so I die cut all of the layers except for the biggest of these little scallop details onto some strawberry cardstock. And then I use the largest and second largest of these nested dies to die cut some white cardstock. And I added some green ink just to the edges a little bit, and then did like an every other layer of these kind of banner looks to that background. So here you can see just a way to use these nested dies, but I really like the top one with the strawberries on it. I think those are going to end up going on a card together. But that's just one way you can use nested dies. It creates really cool frames for your projects. So now we're on to day 18, which was more sequins. I think this was my favorite out of the bunch. I really love the like mermaid vibes of this one, the deep sea. So these are a blue sequin, but depending on how the light hits it, there's like a green turquoise feel, and then there's more of a deeper blue purple. So those are the colors I'm going to use to inspire my stenciling. And this time I covered the circles because I didn't want those little circled like lining up dots to get stenciled. And I think the stencil is fairly easy to line up. You don't need those little dots. So I think that it's going to look a little bit nicer. You can see I don't have those weird dots in the corners, and I can trim this now with straight edges instead of having to corner around them. Now you could definitely use like a pencil mark to line them up and then just erase that pencil mark when you're done, but I think the stencil's pretty easy to line up from one layer to the next. And I'm doing the same thing as I did for the other shaker panel. I'm adding adhesive to 3 sides of my the back of my panel, and I'm creating a little pocket with my acetate. Now this acetate that I've been using for panel shaker cards are packaging that I get supplies that I purchase in. So I try to recycle where I can. So I just trim down pieces of packaging acetate to fit my shaker panels. And here you can see how cute these sequins are, and I love the color combination that I did with this stencil background for these sequins. So now we're moving on to day 19, and we have another stamp set. It's very similar to the birthday sentiments. This one is a thank you. So we have thank you in the large font for the lovely gift. You made my day, and for all you do in the smaller font, or yeah, I guess smaller font. So kind of similar to the birthday sentiment. So I'm going to pretty much do what I did last time, very similar. I'm going to emboss all of these sentiments on some white cardstock, and I'm going to grab that same banner die to die cut them out. Again, I like that I'll have these sentiments ready to go for cards. So I'll have some ready to go for birthday cards and now some ready for thank you cards. But instead of gold, I thought I would do bronze or like copper. This is one of my favorite colors from Ranger. It's a fine embossing ink, so it's really great for sentiments like this. And I just love that kind of rose gold tint to the copper. And then I have that banner die again. And I will say the thank you was kind of big, but it still fit. I still like how it came out. And then again, if you have like a really cool thank you die or stamp, you can add in these other ones as a little banner underneath that on your projects. Now, day number 20, we're getting into the twos here. Day number 20 was another stencil, and this time it kind of created like a wreath, or kind of reminds me of like a laurel wreath, or I can't think of the word. It kind of looks like antlers, to be honest, that second one, but it has like an award looking design. I hope that makes sense. And I didn't want to get ink in those dots again, so I'm using a pencil this time to add the corners of the stencil, and I'm using my repositionable tape to hide those little dots that you can use to line up all the stencils. So for the leaves, I'm going to start with a lighter green ink, and I'm just stenciling that right through the first stencil. I'm not really worried about it getting onto the cardstock outside of the stencil. Most of these are just kind of an idea of how you can use these, and I will adapt them onto projects later on. And then the second layer I did brown because I wanted it to look like sticks, or the branches of the leaves. And then for the third layer, there was these little circles that made berries. So I thought it'd be fun to do some stencil paste. So I grabbed some lunar paste to add onto those berries. And then once that dries, I can trim it down and I can add it to the front of a card one day. So I'm lining up my paper trimmer to be right where the stencil ends, and it creates a nice little panel. Again, you could be better at masking than I was if you want to use this directly onto a larger panel, since the stencil is kind of small. For day 21, we have another die set. This one creates a really cool like square tile design. There's a square die, so you can die cut one panel on its own, and then there's like a detailed floral design that only cuts out the inside. So you would need to use the square and that floral design if you wanted to create a tile, and then some floral details, so like little flowers and the centers of the flowers. So I'm going to ink up some of the flowers with some pink ink and using these little waffle flower blending brushes to add in some detail, and then I will add the green tile design. I don't know what it's called, but it looks like a tile to me, onto a piece of white cardstock that I cut with just the square die. And then you can add in the floral details. And I will say I kind of had to guess which little flower went on, where on the design. I realized as I glued one down, it didn't look quite right. So I twisted it or moved it to a different flower as best as I could. But I think it's kind of hard to tell if I didn't get it lined up perfectly. I don't think it's very obvious. And then I'm adding in the centers of all the flowers. The middle flower has two layers, so I did the darker, smaller flower, and then the yellow middle of the flower. And I think this is really cute. I mean, it'd be a lot of work to cut a bunch of these little tiles out and make a card out of them, but I think it would be really pretty. For day number 22, we have a little bit more sequins. This one was also one of my favorites. I would say if I had to rank the sequins, it would be the bluishy teal mermaid one, and then this one because I love the soft peachness of it. And coincidentally, the color for 2024 is peach, so I feel like the sequin mix is perfect for 2024. And then the more neon, like bright pink one. So very similar to how I did the other two sequence days, I picked colors that reminded me of the different shades that you see with these iridescent sequins. So I did a pale pink, a little bit of a darker pink, and then I'm bringing in this yellowy orange color. And I really love this color combination. I think it looks so pretty and very similar to the shaker panel I did with the blue sequins. I trimmed it down because I covered the little circles to line up the stencils together. I'm adding adhesive to 3 sides of the back of my panel and folding up the acetate to create a little pocket. And then once I have all 3 sides, I will fill it with sequins and then close it up to make a little shaker panel. I do trim off the corners when I make a shaker panel like this because otherwise you get a lot of acetate kind of layering up on each other on the back. So that's just one way to reduce some of the bulk. And here I am adding in those pretty sequins, and then I try to shake it so it's as flat as possible and then close up my little panel. These are so pretty. I don't know, maybe this one is my favorite. I'm not sure. I usually tend to like the more blue cool tones, but I think the peachness of this sequin mix, it's starting to win me over. Now for day 23, it's hard to believe we're almost done here. We have another die set, another sentiment set. I love that the Spellbinders includes like shadows for their scripty words. It just makes gluing these sentiments to cards or projects so much easier. So this one says thinking of you. So I'll go ahead and die cut. I thought these would be pretty to go with some of the florals that I've made. So I die cut the words out of a craft brown cardstock, and then I used the green that I use for most of my florals that I've die cut throughout these 23 days so far, the same green, so that way I can, match this sentiment up with another day's project. So very similar to how I did the To You from Me, I'm just adding some liquid adhesive with my fine point glue to the back of the scripty sentiment. And I like that the tittles of the eyes are connected so you don't lose them onto those shadow dies. And now here we are, finally on day 24, and it's a little tiny whale, and he's so stinking cute. It reminds me of probably my favorite monthly release from Spellbinders for the clubs were the like ocean ones. I don't know if that was like June or July, I don't remember, but it had the bottle and then the whale that comes in the bottle, and the glimmer hot foil were these beautiful wave designs. So I really love that they did a little tiny whale for the final day. So you get like the details of the whale and then also some pretty water details. So I'm gonna just glue the whale together and add a little bit of shadowing with my alcohol markers, but I won't do anything with the water because I think when I put this onto a card, I'll add the water, just like glue it directly to my card base, because they're such tiny little pieces and they're probably going to get lost and I'll have to die cut them again. But I love that there's a lot of different like water designs, so you can create water coming out of the spout of the whale. Is that what it's called? The spout? Like the whale shooting out water, and or you can make splashes around the whale, depending on how you're designing your project. So I put together my cute little whale, and then here I am trying to show what it would look like if the water was coming out from the blowhole. That sounds more appropriate, a blowhole of the whale. But anyway, here is a look at this little whale put together. But I hope you like this overview of all the different days of my Spellbinders. You can find the shorts over on my channel page, but I hope this brought you a little inspiration and kind of a recap of everything I did for these 24 days. But thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Bye.